Well, hello there. I am Roz Booker. I am an Agent Advantage certified instructor. I'm also a real estate broker. Today, we are going to go over the most recent updates to the changes that have been made to the Residential Buyer-Tenant Representation Agreement, the long form, right? And we all know that the National Association of Realtors has entered into a settlement agreement. And as a result of that, many of the Texas Realtors forms have changed. And so, although I am a broker, I am not your broker. So, I am going to admonish you to speak with your broker about how use of this form or any other forms that may have changed will apply to you and how you work with your clients. Now, this buyer-tenant representation agreement, it will be mandatory. It will be mandatory if you're going to be representing a buyer, according to the agreement in the settlement. We have to have an agreement signed, right? If you're going to work with a buyer. But this is not new. Usually this has been a 5-page form if you've been using it and you're really pretty familiar with it. Today, I'm only going to go over the redlined items, the changes only. So as I scroll down, you'll see red line items. Those were the old terms. The blue are the new terms. So let's start with the definitions. So they wanted to make it more clear as to what market area you will be serving your client. For example, you have to insert the actual property address, if it's just a property address or several addresses. If it's a specific subdivision, city, county, or specific zip codes. So they just wanted to make it really clear. Number 4, they are replacing commences with begins. Number 7 is one of the largest changes. Now, this broker compensation in the former agreement was pushed down toward the bottom of the agreement. So they've moved it up to share the level of importance. Plus, there have been changes and additions to the verbiage and what we see here in terms of selections. So let's go through it. Item number 7, paragraph 7 says that the broker compensation or sharing of compensation between the brokers, it hasn't been set by law, nor is it fixed, controlled, recommended, or suggested by any association of realtors, MLS, or listing service. Y'all, and it never was, right? So that hasn't changed. And it further says that the compensation is fully negotiable. Again, a level of transparency just to make it clear about compensation. So it says that the brokers independently determine their fees, and a broker is prohibited from receiving compensation for brokerage services from any source that exceeds the amount stated in this agreement. So this means that there can't be any additional compensation that a broker receives that's not in this agreement, but there is an amendment. Not here to talk about that. There is an amendment should a variable or a different level of compensation arise before closing. So paragraph A is boxed in, and this is where you have a few new selections to select. So the compensation is earned and payable. You have selection 1 for purchases, either for a percentage or a flat amount pertaining to the sales price, right? Let me rephrase that. You either have a percent of the sales price or a flat amount as it pertains to the purchase. Leases, you can put a percent in there for 1 month's rent or a percentage for all rents to be paid over a period of time or a flat amount. So that paragraph is very important. B talks about the source of the compensation. This hasn't changed. This has always been in our buyer-tenant representation agreement that the broker will first seek to obtain payment of the fees outlined in paragraph 7A from the seller, landlord, or their agents. But if those persons named do not pay the compensation, then the client pays the compensation. Is that clear? That has always been the case. Let's go to C, earned and payable. Broker's compensation is earned when the client enters into a contract to buy or lease the property in the area. Client breaches this agreement. The closing of the transaction to acquire the property, client's breach of the contract to buy or lease the property in the market area, client's breach of this agreement. If the client acquires more than one property under this agreement, the broker's compensation for each property acquired are earned as each property is acquired and are payable at the closing of each acquisition. So really nothing about this has changed. D, acquisition of brokers listing, the intermediary status. Again, I will deter you to your broker's policy and procedures on how you guys work out your intermediary statuses. E, additional compensation. Now, this is a change to the change that I wanted to get to. So on the original amended form for us to use, it had information under paragraph 2 about bonuses, and there was a specific percent or a dollar amount that you could put in. But this has changed. But let me go ahead and explain and interpret item number E, 1 and 2. Okay, so additional compensation. So if a client uses a broker's services to procure and negotiate the construction of improvements, that could be additional compensation that's not a part of what's listed above, right? Okay. E2, if the broker refers a client regarding a mover or a cable company, if there is a fee associated with that that's paid, that's additional compensation that does not deal or is not included in paragraph 7A. Okay, let's talk about notices regarding bonuses and other compensation. So in addition to the broker's fee in 7A, it says that the landlord or the broker can receive a bonus. However, that bonus must be solidified and disclosed properly. Okay, because remember, you can't receive any compensation outside of what's listed here. Texas Realtors has made it very clear that the form to use to amend this agreement is the form 1505. So if there is a bonus, that amendment would have to be a part of this agreement. Okay. 7F, the protection period. There's nothing more to say about that. G, escrow authorization. This just gives the title company, right, the ability to pay the broker accordingly. H talks about the county where the monies will be paid. Now you'll see some changes in the numbers and letters. Things just kind of shifted, right, in terms of the paragraphs. So nothing required rewriting, but they did need to reorder these paragraphs numerically and alphabetically. So those are the changes that you see there. So as we continue to scroll down, you can see that those changes are there. The redlined item, paragraph number 13, has been moved up to paragraph 7, and the new language has been added. Aren't y'all excited and ready to use these awesome forms? Oh, goodness. And I think there's one other place as I scroll through that you will be interested in knowing. Come on. Let me just do this. Okay, here we are at 18F. It just further makes it clear about the reduction of wire fraud. They add some terminology regarding requests to wire the funds and how verification should happen, okay? But that's it in a nutshell. I hope this has been helpful to you. Again, I'm Roz Booker. Reach out to your broker if you have any additional questions about how to use this form. Bye-bye.